right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pete Newsham. I'm the Chief of Police here in Prince William County. I'm here to speak about a fatal officer-involved shooting that we had this morning. I want to start by expressing my condolences to the family of the decedent in this case. In policing, when we come to work to help people. And unfortunately, sometimes in this profession, we have to use force, and sometimes that force results in the loss of a life, and that's what happened here this morning. What happened, and the other piece that I will say is the information that I have is preliminary because this just occurred a few hours ago, and more information will become available as the investigation unfolds. But I can tell you some of the things that I do know right at this point, like I said, subject to change. And so what happened is an adult white male, appears to be in his 50s, arrived here at this joint complex of the fire department and the police department. This person made their way into the rear of the fire department parking lot. One of our officers was at our gas pump, and he was alerted to the fact that this subject was in the area and he had a knife. He was armed. Our officer responded up. He was confronted by this subject with the knife. The subject advanced towards the officer, and the officer ended up discharging his firearm, striking the subject and killing him. Officers, as you can imagine, were immediately able to attempt to render aid, but unfortunately the subject in this case was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced. We have not yet identified the victim, so when that becomes available, we will release it. The way that we handle fatal officer-involved shootings here in Prince William County is we have our critical incident response team that has been called. They will take over the investigation. When they have completed their investigation, they will present it to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and our Commonwealth's Attorney's Office will make a decision as to whether or not there's any prosecutorial merit to the investigation. And then it'll be handed back to the police department for an administrative investigation to determine whether or not the use of force was within our policy. So with that being said, I can take any questions that you all might have.
Was he observed by somebody at the fire station, or was it, I mean, who called out for the officer to say this guy's got a knife?
So I understand from the fire chief, this is right around the change of shift for the fire department. So we do have a witness that was in the area that identified this person with the knife and alerted our officer.
And I know you said you have not identified him yet, not publicly, but is it somebody who is known to this department?
You know, but until we have a full identification, you know, in these cases we have some sense as to who we think it might be, but until that's confirmed, I'd be reluctant to say that.
Do you describe this person as like a kind of a random passerby or somebody trying to burglarize, or is it like an employee from this complex?
It's not an employee here, certainly not an employee. We think this person came to this location, and we don't know exactly why they came here, but then this unfortunate incident unfolded.
Is there any belief that this person was suffering from a mental health issue?
That would be one of the things that we will certainly look into. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this person may have been in crisis at the time.
Was there any other discussion besides the command to drop the weapon?
That was pretty much all that we have right now, is to drop the weapon.
Is there body camera footage of any of this by any chance?
There is.
Will you be releasing it in the coming hours?
We will make a determination on that after the investigation is completed.
Was there any opportunity to deploy a taser rather than lethal force?
I do not know at this point whether or not the officer was equipped with a taser, but we can certainly answer that question as the investigation proceeds.
Do you have any information
It's a good question.
on the officer in terms of how long he's been on force, anything like that? What's next for him?
I do. It's a 2-year veteran. It's a male officer, and he will be on leave, and he will actually be responding to our resiliency center. One of the things that I did want to say in policing, and this happens with me as well, when we go out into the community, most of the time we're on high alert. We consider this place a home away from home here, and so when we're responding in here, or we're back at the gas pump, we exhale a little bit. This is a place of safety for us. So this is very impactful for the officer that was involved. And so one of the things that we do is to ensure that he gets to go to our resiliency center to be able to speak to somebody about the circumstance that he was just in, to ensure that he is okay. And as of this morning, as you can imagine, very shaken, but he appears to be okay. He's certainly uninjured.
How are the firefighters doing? Was there any effect there? Are they like hunkered down for a little while you guys have the place roped off?
What I will say is the fire chief reached out to me this morning, and he expressed his thanks that this officer placed himself in between this person and his firefighters.
How did this person get here, by a car?
We believe he responded here by vehicle, yes.
Is the vehicle in the parking lot then?
Well, you know, again, because we're in the preliminary stages, we do have a vehicle. It remains to be seen whether or not this is the subject's vehicle.
Can I ask, for this gas station, is it on this side, and then he was alerted by somebody, right, and then he just walked over? Is that?
The parking lot for the fire station oversees our gasoline pump, so it's certainly within shouting distance.
So Chief, it certainly does sound, and I know it's all preliminary, but it certainly does sound like this person may have some connection to the fire department, or as you said, may have been known to people in the fire department.
Yeah, we don't have anything to confirm that, so like I said, if that becomes available, we'll certainly share it.
And this
Any
person may
chance the
have
person
already
was
been-
wearing a firefighter's uniform at the time of the shooting?
There's no indication of that, and so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I did have a follow-up.
Yep.
And this person was, had they self-injured themselves before?
It appears that there may have been an injury to the decedent prior to the shooting, yes.
So is there any concern that that person was looking for first aid?
Yeah, I don't believe that that was the case. Yeah, we don't believe that that was the case.
And can you characterize the knife, the type of knife?
I can't speak about it in detail. I do know that we did recover a knife.
But certainly it was dark, right? Something, so it was dark, 5 o'clock in the morning, it's dark.
That
so-
area has some lighting, yeah,
Okay.
so I wouldn't characterize it as being dark.
Okay, good to know. Good
So
to
do
know.
you walk over from this gas, is there direct access from the gas station to the fire
You
department?
can get up there readily, easily, yes. The officer actually drove his vehicle up there. He didn't walk or run up there. He drove his vehicle up there.
Okay, so the officer was at the gas pump at end of shift. correct?
Again, I'm getting into probably a little bit too much detail than I can confirm.
Sure.
My understanding, he was in the area of the gas pump,
Got it.
was alerted that this person had come with a knife and then went up there in his vehicle. I do know that. Got out of his vehicle, and then there was a confrontation.
So who alerted it? Was it the fire department personnel?
We have a witness who alerted him, and we're not going to identify a witness in a case like this.
Chief, can you give us a sense of the timeline from first contact to the actual shooting?
I don't know exactly at what point the officer was alerted, but I can tell you I have heard the radio calls, and it happened in a very, very short amount of time. It was very quick.
Like 10 minutes?
No, not 10 minutes. Shorter than that, I can say with some degree of certainty, but again, I don't want to get into too many specifics because it's preliminary.
Was there any de-escalation or perhaps, stepping back away from him when they saw the knife?
There was a retreat by the officer, an initial retreat of backing up, and there was certainly commands by the officer to drop the knife.
What about the threat to the people around here at that time, or just, uniformed officers, right?
Yeah, well, certainly, it's a threatening behavior whenever somebody is armed and they're walking towards human beings. It's a threat that we're very concerned about. So thankfully, we had an officer here who could respond to that threat and mitigate it as quickly as possible.
Is any of that area near the gas pumps under surveillance?
We have cameras down by the gas pumps, yes.
Will any of
So,
that be released anytime?
I'm sorry?
Will any of that be released at any time?
I haven't even seen that footage. I can tell you there is some body worn camera footage, and we'll make a determination on that.
Chief, was there anybody else that was in imminent risk of injury of him with the knife, or was it just the officer?
That's hard for me to say right now, because I don't know the proximity of our witness to the actual event.
Sorry, Chief, had the initial observation of a person with a knife. Had there been an initial threat by that person beforehand? In other words, had he threatened somebody beforehand, or was it just the observation of the person with a knife?
I think it was the latter,
Just there's somebody in the parking lot with a knife.
yes.
Was there a threat made towards law enforcement?
If somebody advances towards you with a knife, we would consider that a threat.
You mentioned it was around shift change. What is shift change?
For the fire department, I do not know,
But
yeah.
you were referencing it was their shift change?
Yes, that's what the fire chief relayed to me. It's right around their shift change. And so he was thankful that the officer, like I said, stood between his folks and this person who was there with a knife. Thank you all very much.
Can you tell us how close he was to the fire station, this individual?
It's right in the back lot of the fire station, so it's I would characterize it as relatively close.
Like, and do you have an estimate of feet or anything?
I don't have that.
Is that
But
lot
if
the
you,
one
if
where
you
the-
guys can take a look at the parking lot back there. And so the way it'll work is we will have to do, obviously, crime scene collection. That'll be done by the critical incident response team. When that is completed, you're welcome to come back. That area right there, you can come back if you want to get some footage of that.
So he was outside of his vehicle, the individual was outside of his vehicle. Was he running? Was he saying anything? Can you describe the threatening behavior he was just?
He was
exhibiting?
advancing towards the officer at the time the shots were fired.
Like walking,
Yep.
running, yelling?
I can characterize it as definitely advancing towards the officer, and he got to very close proximity.
He did.
So,
You
yes.
said shots. Can you tell us how many?
I don't know exactly how many at this point, so that's part of the investigation. All right, thank you all very much.